We all agreed. You're not welcome at Christmas. That was the last thing Vanessa Winters ever heard from her parents before they cut her off for getting pregnant out of wedlock. But years later, as a single mother fighting for her daughter's life, Vanessa didn't beg. She built. Betrayed by blood and rescued by in-laws, she's about to turn her heartbreak into a multi-million-dollar legacy. And when her estranged family comes crawling back, she'll deliver a reckoning they'll never forget. The rain had been relentless all day. It was the kind that soaked through your clothes and your bones, the kind that refused to be ignored, just like the storm swirling inside Vanessa Winters. By the time she burst through the towering double doors of her parents' Tudor-style home, water dripped from her coat and hair, pooling on the polished marble floor of the grand foyer. The chandelier above her head caught the light and scattered it across the room, momentarily blinding her. Her swollen eyes scanned the lavish crowd gathered inside. The smell of expensive perfume and hors d'oeuvres mingled with the distant melody of a live string quartet. Champagne glasses clinked. Laughter rippled through the air. And then her mother saw her. Monica Winters glided away from her guests. Like a swan in silk, her navy blue dress shimmered, the pearls at her throat catching the chandelier's glow. But the warmth in her smile vanished as she neared. Her expression tightened, her perfectly manicured hand reaching out to grasp Vanessa's elbow. "Vanessa, not now, we have guests," she hissed under her breath, trying to maintain the illusion of control. "Blake's engagement party is not the time for whatever this is, Mom." Gerald Winters, her father, appeared at her mother's side, jaw clenched beneath his silver beard. "Let's take this somewhere private," he said. Without waiting for an answer, he began steering Vanessa down the hallway toward his study. The heavy oak door closed behind them with a dull thud. Vanessa stood on the ornate Persian rug, shivering and soaked, rainwater dripping onto the pristine floor. "Zoe collapsed at school today," she blurted, her voice cracking. They rushed her to Portland Memorial. Her parents froze. Monica's hand fluttered to her chest. "Is she all right?" Gerald asked, brows knitted. "No," Vanessa whispered. "She has a congenital heart defect. The doctor said, without surgery in the next 48 hours, she might not make it." The words echoed in the quiet room like a thunderclap. "I don't have insurance right now," she continued. "The business is struggling. I was planning to enroll next month, when the new client's payment cleared. But there's no time now. The hospital won't schedule the surgery without a confirmed payment." Gerald shifted uncomfortably. Monica stared at a spot on the floor. "How much?" her father finally asked. "$80,000. Her voice trembled. $80,000. Monica repeated softly, as though the number were foreign. "I've tried everything," Vanessa said quickly. "Payment plans, loans, nothing's enough. The bank won't give me an emergency loan without collateral." She sank to her knees, the last vestiges of pride slipping away like the rain off her coat. "Please, I've never asked for anything. Not when Mark lost his job. Not when the roof leaked. Not even when I needed help starting the business. Please, help me save her. She's your granddaughter." There was a long silence. Gerald looked at Monica. Something unspoken passed between them. Monica sighed. "We simply can't, Vanessa. Blake's wedding is in 3 months. We've already committed to covering the costs. What costs could?" "Always trying to steal my spotlight, sis." Blake stood in the doorway, champagne flute in hand, his fiancée Lauren behind him. "Not now, Blake." Gerald raised a hand. "We've already put down $250,000 for the venue, catering, and honeymoon package. Non-refundable deposits." Vanessa's heart cracked wide open. Her mind flashed to Zoe in her hospital bed, tubes and wires snaking around her tiny frame, clutching a crayon drawing of their family: mommy, daddy, me, grandma, and grandpa. "Maybe you should have planned better," Monica said, adjusting her bracelet. "The family heirloom she once promised would be Vanessa's. Some of us have actual plans for our future." Blake added with a smug smile. Vanessa's hands trembled as she reached for Monica's wrist and unfastened the sapphire bracelet. She pressed it back into her mother's palm. "Take this back," she said, voice icy. "I'll find another way. Vanessa, be reasonable." She straightened, eyes burning. "I've never been more reasonable in my life." As she turned and walked through the crowd of whispering guests, The classical music and forced laughter washed over her like static. People turned and murmured as she passed. "Poor Gerald and Monica," someone said. "That must be the troubled daughter. Such a shame." Outside, the rain had stopped, but the night was cold. Her phone buzzed. A text from Mark. "Any luck?" Vanessa stared at the glowing windows of her childhood home, so warm, so opulent, so empty of compassion. She replied, "No, but we'll save her anyway." And she swore she'd never knock on that door again. Vanessa paced the narrow kitchen, the landline clutched to her ear. Her voice was hoarse from hours of desperate calls. The red digital clock on the microwave glowed. 12:43 a.m. "Please," she whispered into the receiver. "My daughter's life depends on this surgery. I'm sorry, Mrs. Winters," came the cold response. Without collateral click, the dial tone buzzed in her ear like static. She let the phone fall back into its cradle, slumping to the floor. Zoe's crayon drawings on the fridge danced mockingly under the dim light. Stick figures with bright smiles, red hearts, and sunbeams. One read, "I Mommy." Mark appeared from the bedroom, with dark circles under his eyes, and placed a crumpled check on the kitchen table. 8,000, he said softly. "Johnson bought the Mustang." Vanessa looked up, stunned. "Mark, that was he took her hand." "I love Zoe more." She nodded, tears spilling over. Still 23,000 short. The doorbell rang at 6:13 a.m. Mark's parents, Tom and Denise Winters, stood on the porch, somber-faced. "Can we come in?" Tom asked quietly. Inside, they sat on the edge of the couch. Tom's hands twisted, his old Carhartt cap. Denise clutched her purse. "We sold the cabin," Tom said finally. "The one in Montana." Mark jolted upright. "What?" "Dad, that was your family is everything," Tom said simply. Denise pulled an envelope from her purse and placed it on the coffee table. $38,000, she said. Vanessa gasped. "We can't take this." Mark protested. "You can and you will," Denise said, her tone firm. "This is what family does." The hospital waiting room was a cold, sterile space. Vanessa clutched Zoe's stuffed bunny, praying. 14 hours later, Dr. Levine emerged. "She's going to make it." Vanessa wept. A week passed. A text from Blake. "Did she survive? Also, you made Mom look bad." A voicemail from Gerald. "You embarrassed this family." Vanessa deleted them both. The invitation arrived, creamy envelope, gold embossing, addressed only to Vanessa. No mention of Mark or Zoe. In Zoe's hospital room, Tom taught her how to fish using an imaginary rod. Denise brought soup. Mark handled everything at home. Love surrounded them, real love. Vanessa wrote it all in Zoe's journal. "I will never be this vulnerable again," she promised. From ashes, she would rise. The desk lamp cast a soft glow over Vanessa's sketches as the clock ticked past midnight. 3 half-empty coffee mugs sat abandoned like forgotten centuries on the dining table, now doubling as her design studio. She rubbed her temples, eyes raw from too many sleepless nights and too much at stake. In the other room, Zoe slept soundly beneath a Wonder Woman blanket. Tom had bought it for her after her surgery. Her gentle breathing was the only melody Vanessa needed to keep working. The scar on her daughter's chest, once angry and red, had faded to a delicate line, a permanent reminder of the storm they'd survived. But they weren't out of the woods yet. Their rent was late. The power company had sent a final warning. Every last cent had gone to Zoe's recovery. But Vanessa had a shot, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to pitch her boutique interior design firm to Westbrook Hotels, a growing regional chain looking to rebrand. 7 locations, a budget of $1.8 million. 3 established firms were already shortlisted. Vanessa was the wild card, the underdog. She looked down at her concept sketches. Cozy lobby nooks with built-in bookshelves, kid-friendly suites with chalkboard walls, adjustable lighting for jet-lagged business travelers. Not just aesthetics, but empathy. Spaces that healed. Mark's text popped up on her phone. "Don't stay up all night. They'd be lucky to have you." She smiled faintly and pushed through the fatigue. By dawn, Tom and Denise were at her doorstep. Her Anchors. Denise handed her a steaming travel mug. You look like you need this more than I do. Tom was already on the floor building a cushion fort with Zoe. Arthritis be damned. He was her playmate, protector, and cheerleader. Denise adjusted the collar on Vanessa's blazer. You remind me of the old dogwood outside our first house. Storm knocked it sideways, but it grew back stronger. Different angle, but more beautiful. Vanessa hugged her tightly. Thank you for everything. Tom grinned. Knock him dead, kiddo. Zoe dashed over in her slippers and threw her arms around Vanessa's legs. Make pretty buildings, mommy. Vanessa crouched, cupping Zoe's cheeks. I'll be back before dinner. Grandpa's making his famous sketty, right? Extra meatballs, Zoe declared. The Westbrook Hotel's conference room sat on the 25th floor of a sleek downtown tower. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered $1 million view of Portland. Vanessa stood at the head of the table, samples and sketches carefully arranged. 5 suits eyed her with polite skepticism. No slideshows, no flashy video reels, just her story and her heart, Miss Winters, the CEO began, folding his hands. Your firm is considerably smaller than the others we've reviewed. What makes you think you're ready for this scale? Vanessa took a breath. Because scale doesn't matter as much as soul. She pointed to the first board, her lobby concept. Hotels aren't just places to sleep. They're shelters during life's turning points. Weddings, funerals, honeymoons, new jobs. I design spaces that remember the humans who live in them, even if just for a night. One executive checked her watch. Another sipped coffee. Undeterred, Vanessa pulled out photographs of the redesigned Montana cabin, the one Tom and Denise had bought after selling their original home to save Zoe. She'd rebuilt it for them, custom-made to their passions: fishing, rod storage, a pie-making island, a bird-watching nook with a perfect view of migrating warblers. The room quieted. Design is about honoring the people who use the space. When my daughter nearly died, my parents chose a party over her life. But my in-laws, who had so little, chose to give everything. This, she said, holding up the photo of Tom smiling on the cabin porch, is the heart of my work. Not just to beautify, but to honor. The room fell silent. The CEO leaned forward. Why do you deserve this contract, Miss Winters? Vanessa met his gaze. Because I've lost everything but learned what matters. And I will put that heart into every square inch of every property you own. I don't just want your contract. I want to help your guests feel seen. She packed up in silence as they deliberated. 3 days later, as she rinsed dinner dishes, her phone buzzed. Mark read aloud. Westbrook Hotels is pleased to inform you. Your proposal has been accepted. Contract delivery by Friday. Initial phase approved for $1.8 million. The plate slipped from her hands into the soapy water. Mark whooped and grabbed her, lifting her off the ground. Zoe spun in circles, shrieking with joy. They laughed and cried all at once. We did it, Vanessa whispered. No, Mark corrected. You did it. 6 months later, Vanessa stood before a frosted glass door, Winter's design studio. Inside, 3 designers brainstormed over color palettes. Laughter and collaboration filled the space. The Seattle expansion opened in 2 weeks. Her phone buzzed. Blake, heard about your success. Mom and Dad are talking about reaching out. Thought you should know. She deleted it. A delivery sat on her desk. A framed photo of her, Mark, Zoe, Denise, and Tom on the porch of their new upgraded cabin. Her first big purchase was with the Westbrook contract. Her assistant buzzed in. Seattle contractor on line 1. Take a message, Vanessa said, standing. I'm heading home early. It's my daughter's birthday. She looked once more at the photo on her desk. The family who had chosen her. They had risen together from the ashes, and they were only getting started. Sunlight poured into the Winters design studio, turning the Italian marble of Vanessa's office into a sea of gold. She adjusted the black leather suitcase on her desk, its weight far heavier than its sleek exterior suggested. The moment had arrived when she had dreamed about, dreaded, and rehearsed in her mind 1,000 times. Her assistant's voice buzzed through the intercom. Miss Winters, your parents are here. Vanessa exhaled, smoothing her blazer. Send them in. The double doors opened slowly. revealing two ghosts from a life long buried. Gerald and Monica Palmer walked in, smaller somehow, shadows of the confident, self-important figures she remembered. Gerald's silver hair had thinned. His blazer hung too loose on stooped shoulders. Monica's makeup was heavy, as if trying to paint over the cracks time and consequences had carved into her face. Her handbag was a knockoff, an obvious one. Their eyes swept the office, pausing on the framed awards, the view of downtown Portland, and the team of assistants visible through the glass partition. "Thank you for seeing us," Gerald said stiffly. "You've done quite well for yourself," Monica added, her voice brittle. Vanessa motioned to the chairs across from her desk. They sat in sync, like a pair of marionettes tugged by invisible strings. Gerald cleared his throat. "Families should stick together during difficult times." Vanessa said nothing. We're in trouble, sweetheart," Monica admitted, the last word forced. "The house is gone. The store's bankrupt. Blake, he left the firm." Vanessa's face remained unreadable. "The economy changed," Gerald added quickly. "Online competitors crushed our margins. And your article," Vanessa arched an eyebrow. "It caused complications," he muttered. "Lost clients. Rumors. Lauren left Blake." A flicker of something shame maybe crossed Monica's face. "We made mistakes," she said softly, "but you're our daughter, and we hoped perhaps there's a way forward." Gerald leaned in. "We're not asking for charity. Think of it as a family investment. You help us, we help you. Publicly, it would show unity, redemption, strong optics." Vanessa laughed then, softly at first, but it rose a sound both bitter and free. "You still think in headlines?" Gerald frowned. "Excuse me?" 3 years, 2 months, and 14 days ago," Vanessa began, "I stood in your foyer drenched, desperate, begging you to help save your granddaughter's life." Gerald shifted uncomfortably. Monica looked down at her hands. "You told me you'd already spent $250,000 on Blake's wedding, that his image was more important than my daughter's heartbeat." She tapped her phone, playing the old voicemail she'd saved. Gerald's voice, cold and clipped, echoed through the room. "Your actions reflect poorly on this family's reputation. Perhaps you should take notes from your brother instead of asking for handouts." The room fell silent when the message ended. "You never visited Zoe, never called, never sent flowers or a card. Do you even know what hospital she was in?" Neither answered. "My in-laws," Vanessa continued, voice steady now, "sold their retirement cabin to save her life. Tom held her hand during surgery. Denise changed her dressings and brought homemade stew. They showed up. You watched me walk out your door and never look back." Monica's mascara began to run. Gerald's hands curled into fists. "We made a mistake." "No," Vanessa interrupted. "You made a choice." She slid the suitcase across the desk. Gerald hesitated before opening it. Neatly stacked inside were bricks of cash, $100,000. "Exactly what you need to settle the debt." Gerald's eyes widened. "You'd give us this?" Vanessa met his gaze. "It's not a gift. It's a payment for closure." I don't understand." "I'm buying my freedom from this bloodline, from the guilt, from the illusion that I ever had parents." Monica sobbed, but Vanessa continued. "Take it, leave, and don't contact me again." She stood, towering above them now, not just physically, but in spirit. "I'm not your daughter. I'm Zoe's mother, Mark's wife, Tom and Denise's family, and I don't need saving anymore." They rose slowly. Gerald clutched a suitcase like a lifeline. Monica looked back once before the doors shut behind them. Vanessa remained still for several minutes. Then she walked to the window, watching the city pulse below, alive, full of possibility. Her reflection was clear in the glass, calm, certain, unshackled. 2 months later, Zoe danced barefoot in the backyard of their new 6-bedroom home. Mark and Tom were setting up a bonfire. Denise laid out plates for the neighbors arriving for a summer celebration. Vanessa leaned on the porch railing, sipping lemonade, watching her daughter twirl with her classmates. "I made a picture," Zoe announced, running over. She held up a crayon drawing, 5 figures under a bright yellow sun. Mark, Vanessa, Zoe in the middle, And Tom and Denise on each side. No, Grandma Monica? No, Grandpa Gerald? Mark asked gently. Zoe shook her head. They never showed up. Vanessa kissed the top of her head. That's okay. We have all the family we need at the Foundation's annual gala. Vanessa delivered a keynote speech. That went viral the next day. When I was at my lowest, I thought revenge would be the finish line, watching the people who failed me fall. But I've learned something far more powerful. The best revenge is a life built in love, not bitterness. A daughter who sings, a husband who believes, a business born of empathy. Family isn't who shares your name, it's who stands beside you when your world is on fire. The audience rose to their feet, tears streaming, applause thunderous. Entrepreneur magazine ran a follow-up piece titled, From Disowned to Designer of the Year, Vanessa Winter's Legacy of Resilience. Beneath it was a quote from Zoe, age 10. My mom made something beautiful out of something broken. She says that's what strong people do. Vanessa framed the article and hung it in her new San Diego office. Under it, in her handwriting, she wrote, Not revenge, redemption.